Well, hi everyone. I'm John Rethlin, back with part 2 of every WrestleMania multi-man championship match, ranked from worst to best. And if you didn't see part 1, check the link up here if future me remembers. Otherwise, please just check the channel timeline. I tend to have issues remembering things. And if you can tell from any of my ramblings, you would know this to be the case. But I do tend to know some things about wrestling. Just a few things, and that's why I'm doing this channel. That, and I get really bored, and you guys enjoy my boredom. So anyway, let's just have a lot of fun talking about the next part of this list. Starting off at number 14, because 28 entries, half that, we get to 14. Math. It's not Steiner math, but I can do some math pretty goddamn good. So, number 14, The Rock versus Triple H versus Mick Foley versus Big Show, WrestleMania 16. It's a WWE Championship. It's a fatal four-way. There's McMahon in every corner. Vince is in The Rock's corner. Triple H has Stephanie. Shane's in the Big Show's corner. And Mick Foley has Linda McMahon. So Mick Foley not only retired at, the previous month's pay-per-view, but then gets the least of the McMahons, somehow the most sane one, in his corner. Boy, this match was a mess. Now, one, Mick Foley already didn't want to be there because he had retired. And then they wanted to give him a Mania moment. So it's cool that he got to be in the Mania main event. But my God, had just been Rock and Triple H, this one, A, wouldn't be on this list. But also, if I, were to rank my favorite matches, Rock and Triple H would have been a lot higher than right here. Because I really wanted to push this match a lot further down. I wanted to have this one near the bottom. But I simply couldn't, because once it got down to Rock and Triple H, it was good. It was quite good. And it wasn't all bad with Foley and Big Show there, but it was just a cluttered mess with all the McMahons. Oh, and Triple H retained, which, cool, and then Rock would win, and then he would swap it back with Triple H, and then Rock would eventually win and drop it to Kurt Angle and stuff like that. And my God, it's still not as bad as 1999, where they hop-tailed the title around a whole lot. So anyway, number 13, Los Guerreros versus Team Angle versus Rhino and Benoit for the Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 19. WrestleMania 19 is often considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, WrestleMania of all time. A lot still say 17. I agree, but there are a lot of people that make the case for 19, because top to bottom, even with a couple matches, was pretty goddamn good. Pretty good. This is a forgotten match that took place during the card. It was about the middle of the card, but it was really good. Now, yes, it was only given about 10 minutes, but it was two really good tag teams, and also Benoit and Rhino. And that's no slight against Benoit and Rhino. They were just an unusual team. But, Benoit had come back from a neck injury. He had come back from a neck injury months before. Rhino had resurfaced after having his own injuries and stuff like that. So they figured, hey, both got bad necks. We both were in ECW. One of us a lot longer than others. Hell, why not team up? It was unusual. And then Rhino would turn on Benoit in the U.S. title finals. Hooray! I remember things. So, yeah, Team Angle was a pretty damn good team here. Los Guerreros, they kept chasing the titles. They're some pretty good tag teams on SmackDown. Some pretty damn good tag teams. We get to number 12. Rollins versus Reigns versus Lesnar, WrestleMania 31, where Rollins cashed in. Okay, so I'm cheating a little bit here, but this did become a three-way at the end or whatever. Right when both men were about to climax, another man jumps in and becomes a three-way, a human centipeded three-way. Have fun unseeing that. So maybe I could have left this off the list, but nah, I'm going to just drive people crazy, including myself, because it's hard to quantify if this really belongs, but I'd say it does, because we had a couple minutes of Seth Rollins being in the match. And then he would win. He would pin Roman Reigns and say, thank you so much. That was good shit. People had to enhance the audio, but it was really good to see Seth Rollins be the first man to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania. This is good stuff, and it saved everybody from having to riot because Roman Reigns was about to beat Brock Lesnar. There were people that were going to riot at home, people were going to riot in the stadium. Now, whether, everything's kind of gone by the wayside now, but at the time, people really didn't want Roman Reigns to win. And honestly, even if people did, it would have been better to have Rollins do this, because then he could have stolen it away from Roman. And it was a pretty damn good end. One of the most shocking endings in WrestleMania history. So now we go to number 11, Cena versus Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 24. Yes, it's for the WWE Championship, because the World Championship was on SmackDown. Look, let's be honest about something. The whole lights going out thing kind of, muddied this WrestleMania a little bit, though. Everybody did the best they could. It's a problem with outdoor stadium shows. as opposed to indoor stadium shows in Florida. Oh yeah, it gets really windy and you have some shit there and you got some storms and whatever. As beautiful as Florida is to live in, from what I've been told, there are at times some storms that you don't want to deal with. And this one had one where, yeah, the power legit went out. And they had to do some stuff and kind of work it around. And they eventually got the generator kicked on. Somebody turned it off and on again like a modem, and everything booted up. But the guys worked well with this, within these within these guidelines and all this stuff and everything. And it was strange, but the match was actually not that bad. Cena had put his Royal Rumble shot, after winning the Royal Rumble, his Mania shot on the line against Orton, but then got slotted in on this and everything. And then we had this match, and it wasn't bad. It was cool that Orton retained. Then Orton would get hurt later, but it was a good match. It does belong just in the upper tier, but just out of the top 10 because there's still some that are just a little bit better, like another three-way. Oh my. Chris Jericho versus Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit, as Jericho said by Chris Benoit. WrestleMania 16 for the Intercontinental Championship and the European Championship. And Kurt Angle possessed both championships. And then he left with no championships, and he didn't take a fall. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. And the idea was, okay, you had this. Well, it was 2 championship matches and stuff like that. And the idea was okay, Benoit had pinned Jericho for the Intercontinental Championship. Well, actually, yeah, it was for the Intercontinental Championship, and then Jericho pinned Benoit for the European Championship, and then Jericho got screwed over, and Eddie Guerrero won after China had turned on Jericho and aligned with Eddie Guerrero, creating the Latino He Mamacita thing, and Eddie was having a lot of fun, and I miss Eddie. I really do. Check out my Dark Side of the Ring review, by the way, for the first part of the Benoit part 1. Oh boy. You want to talk about a gut punch of an episode. But anyway, this match actually was pretty good, and Kurt had a legit beef. He did not lose either championship, and actually was a pretty good way to get the title off of him, both titles off of him without having him take a fall. Pretty ingenious way of doing it. Anyway, we go to number 9. The Hardys versus Gallows and Anderson versus Sheamus and Cesaro. Sheamus and Cesaro versus Enzo and Cass. Mania 33, the ladder match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Let's be perfectly honest, had it not been for the Hardys being part of this probably would have been right at the bottom, because Gallows and Anderson, nothing against them, Sheamus and Cesaro, nothing against them, Enzo and Cass. Yeah, you really want to get Enzo, a man that, knocked himself out on the ropes in a ladder match. That's a great idea. Or Cass with his knees. Do you really want to do that? Nah, it wasn't a very good idea. But hey, the Hardys, a shocking return of the Hardys. Even though everybody knew it was going to happen, everybody at the stadium lost their collective minds. My God, did they lose their minds. It was pretty damn cool. And they roared, Twitter roared, everybody roared, I roared at home. Well, actually, myself and Derb, we roared, we were all goddamn happy. This was pretty damn cool. And then the Hardys would win. Jeff somehow not dying doing, his moves off the ladder. We get to number 8. Bryan versus Stardust versus Ziggler versus Ambrose versus Harper versus Truth versus Wade Barrett. Whew. Mania 31 Intercontinental Championship ladder match. One of 2 ladder matches that are going to be featured here for the Intercontinental Championship. I wonder which one's ranked above the other. I mean, since I mentioned the first one, you probably can guess what. This was a famous one where you had Bryan win, but he would only hold the championship for a little bit and then have to relinquish it because concussions and injuries and all that and everything. And oh boy, isn't it great? It's great that he came back. But sweet Christ, Bryan, do not land on your neck like you did at Elimination Chamber. We want you to live. This was a pretty damn good match. It was weird to see a Mania in an open-air stadium take place in the daytime like this. Like to the point where, since it was on the West Coast, the sun was really shining and everything. Even the sun hadn't even really set during Undertaker and Bray's entrances. It was so weird. But this was a great way to kick off the show, and it was just great stuff, great action and everything, and it was a proper way to just have car crash stuff at the beginning, and it made the Intercontinental Championship mean something. So at least there was that, and then they put it on Ryback afterwards, and then the Intercontinental Championship stopped meaning anything for a bit until Kevin Owens won it, and Ambrose won it, and then everything went off the goddamn rails. So yeah, it was strange, but it was a good match. Intercontinental Championship, muddy waters aside. We then get to number 7, Rollins versus Balor versus Miz, Mania 34, Intercontinental Championship match. Fan-fucking-tastic match. Absolutely brilliant. Great way to showcase how the Intercontinental Championship means something. Miz had been a great Intercontinental Champion. Balor was competing for it. He would win it the next year. Well, sometime the next year. And then feud over with Lashley. That was a great feud. It wasn't great at all. But Rollins had that cool look about him. This is when Rollins truly was on fire, fitting for the man that likes to burn it down. And he would become the Intercontinental Champion, would actually make it the Workhorse Championship. Now, that was nothing against Miz. Miz had actually been a great Intercontinental Champion for a number of years. The problem is, by this point, they, needed to make a change, and they did. But this was a great way to kick off Mania 34. Number 6, Owens versus Zayn versus Miz versus Stardust versus Ryder versus Sin Cara versus Ziggler at Mania 32 for the Intercontinental Championship. Another ladder match. Hooray! This is the other one I was talking about. So, yeah, this is where Ryder shockingly won and held it for 24 hours and then lost it to Miz. Boy, they really like pulling the rug out from under Zack Ryder, don't they? This is pretty damn good, like Zayn and Owens just murdering each other on ladders. Sin Cara not botching, even though this was the new Sin Cara, not the original Sin Cara. And not Mystico, but it was Hunico, who now has left, and I think the Sin Cara character is pretty much done. I think that's smart. Don't put anybody else. Don't put Humberto Carrillo underneath the mask. I would say put Kalisto there, but we know that he only does good lucha things, and that would be a bad lucha thing. This match was pretty damn good. The second best match on the Mania 32 card. I would argue that the women's match was better, because I'm going to argue it because it was better. But this car crash, murder each other mentality, pretty damn good stuff, and a great way to kick off the main card. I don't know how Owens and Zayn have any necks left. Because we only have one, but I don't know how they have anything of their respective necks remaining. So we get to number 5. Bryan versus Orton versus Batista, WrestleMania 30, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship after fighting through Triple H. Well, fighting and beating him, not fighting through him. That would lead to a lot of evisceration. Got to be eviscerated. Hey. Daniel Bryan got his shot. Could Daniel Bryan get the victory? Well, yeah, he did. It led to, one of the best endings in WrestleMania history. The reason this one's ranked lower than you might think, like not either at the top or at number 2, the match was good, but there were some moments I had some issues with. Yes, I get why they told it the way they did, but when Bryan was involved, it was great. When it was just Orton and Batista, you wanted to throw up. And nothing against those guys. But Vince originally wanted it to be that. And was basically forced to put Bryan in there. They did not want to put Bryan in that match. No matter what they want to make us believe with the revisionist history, they did not want to put Daniel Bryan in that match. And we forced them to. This was, though, really, really good. Daniel Bryan celebrating at the end. Got to celebrate with Connor the Crusher. You want to see something emotional, watch him be inducted into get the Warrior Award and everything the next year after he passed away. That doesn't tug at your heartstrings, no matter what you think of wrestling. I don't know what will. But this match is pretty goddamn good. And thank God Orton or Batista didn't win, because, oh boy, the crowd might have burned the Superdome to the ground. I mean, thank God they didn't, but, oh boy. Number 4, Raven versus Big Show versus Kane, WrestleMania 17, the hardcore match. Great stuff. Raven being a goddamn crash test dummy, getting flung through a window, driving a golf cart, and nearly cutting the power off to the entire Astrodome. Oh boy, that would have been something. Cutting off the power during WrestleMania 17 after WCW and ECW had ceased operations recently. Boy, wouldn't that have just been funny? But yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff here. Raven, once again, pretty much having to hit and run everything, trying to attack the two big guys when they were down. This is a really fun... By no means is this a great match, but it was a lot of fun. And considering how I feel about the Hardcore Championship, this actually used the stipulation the best way possible. And Raven really made the match. This is also when Kane was on fire. Ironic, given the fact that he was apparently burned in a funeral home. But no, they were mental scars. They were this, they were that, and... they fucked up the backstory of Kane massively. They kept reinventing it. This is good stuff, though. Kane would eventually win the Hardcore Championship. It was some pretty good stuff. Number 3, TLC 2, Dudley's, Hardys, Edge and Christian, Mania 17. For the Tag Team Championships, Rhino would help out Edge and Christian. Lita would help out the Hardys. And Spike Dudley would help out the Dudleys. I know, it's shocking. You wouldn't have guessed it had I revealed that. But, Edge DDTing himself, trying to spear Jeff and spearing Jeff, but end up implanting himself on the ground. The Dudleys doing, 3Ding Lita right after she brain spiked Dudley with a chair shot. And Matt and Bubba Ray going through the goddamn tables and everything. When Rhino just pushed the thing over and went through 4 tables, and it was absolutely insane. There was a lot of insane spots in this match. Just go watch it. Mania 17, by the way, best Mania of all time, in my opinion. So we get to number 2. Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys versus the Hardys. WrestleMania 16 triangle ladder match for the tag titles. You could swap both of you could swap 2 and 3, and you wouldn't get any arguments. But realistically, with this list, it just was really hard to not enjoy what it was hard not to enjoy what you were watching, because these guys just were going out there and showing the tag team wrestling could mean a whole lot. Jeff, breaking his goddamn ass doing that swanton outside. I mean, my God. Matt getting tipped over, going through a table to look like it disintegrated. The ladder shots, the table shots, all this stuff. These guys went out and stole the goddamn show. Now, to be fair, WrestleMania 16, aka WrestleMania 2000, wasn't all that good, but this really did steal the show. It was the best match on the WrestleMania 16 card, bar none. It was way better than the main event, as you can tell from my list, but also from the fact that, more people talk about the triangle ladder match with fondness than they do the 4-way, WWE Championship match with the McMahon in every corner. Boy, it was a bad idea. Number 1, though, Chris Benoit versus Shawn Michaels versus Triple H at Mania 20, the WWE World Championship. Yes, we know what Benoit did. There's no escaping that. Even now, I'm having to try and take it easy on stuff I say about what he did at the end of his life. That being said, looking at this match, the way they told this story, yes, it would have been better Triple H and Chris Benoit. They had to work Shawn Michaels in there, and the idea was maybe Shawn Michaels was going to be worked in there to take the fall, so Triple H didn't have to, and he could lose the championship but not actually tap out. Oh, but he did. He did, and it was really, really shocking, which is a good thing. He was starting to make up for the fact that he didn't let Booker T win at the previous Mania. I am still mad about that, and I will always be mad about that, because he should have fucking lost. Anyway, Booker T should have won, because people like him should have been champion. Fucking Bruce Pritchard saying it wasn't a racist storyline. Goddamn idiot. Anyway, this match. Benoit, Triple H, Shawn, they all brought it. You would get Shawn and Triple H reform briefly, dumping Benoit through the announcer's table. Some really hard chops, some good blood and everything. Triple H bleeding, tapping out to the crossface. Eddie and Benoit embracing at the end. Really couldn't ask for a better way to end it. Yes, some may put Bryan's moment above this. If you're going to take the moment, sure, Daniel Bryan winning the championship eclipses what Benoit did. As good as the Eddie Benoit hugging was, but if you take a look at the totality of the match, this one blows it away, in my opinion. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.